Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Your Morning Drive. I am your host, Logan Lewis, coming to you live from the Fireworks Studio in Marietta, Georgia. Before we get into the episode, do me a favor, hit follow and subscribe or whatever you have to do on whatever platform you're listening on to make sure new episodes come to you every single week, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or if you're one of the few people listening on Stage Dive, just make sure you're subscribed and subscribed and following along so that new episodes come to your phone, your computer, your tablet, whatever you listen on every single week. For more inside scoop, for clips, for episode announcements, sponsor information, all of those things, follow Your Morning Drive on all the socials that you have, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, if it still exists, but follow along on the social platforms for updates and everything else. We appreciate it. I think everything is, of course, just at Your Morning Drive. Thank you for tuning in again. Let's get rolling. My guest today is a devoted mom to a wild and amazing 15-month-old little girl, Quinn, and a passionate advocate for both NICU families and meaningful employee experiences. With a career in HR and talent acquisition, she enjoys bringing compassion and purpose to her work while balancing life as a working mom. She has been married for nearly 5 years, loves exploring new places, trying new foods, and sharing the real, raw, beautiful parts of motherhood. Not everyone does, so she finds it so important to talk about everything through her journey. She is also one of my longest running friendships, period, in my lifetime. We love that and appreciate that. Please welcome my friend, Myranda Hames.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. I think that any podcast that I've done with you, which I know that it's been limited, it's always such a fun experience.
It is fun.
And it's
Thank
always
you.
great because it's a bucket list. You can or a fun fact.
Yeah.
You know, when you tell people, it's like, oh, I did a podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm riding the podcast high right now, Randy. I'm not going to lie. So last night was the comedy show that comedian Rich Brock, who I had on the podcast. We're recording this the week of my birthday, the first week of April. And my episode with Rich came out on the Wednesday before my birthday. And then on Saturday night, he did a comedy show in downtown Cartersville, and Your Morning Drive was a sponsor of it. And it was incredible. And the show lets out, and I'm wearing my Your Morning Drive shirt, and people walk by me and they pat me on the back and they're like, great episode, great show, loved listening, great episode. I subscribed and I'm listening to another one right now. And it was just super cool to hear. So it's stuff like that keeps you going, keeps me motivated, and keeps me charging forward. But
I mean, your event that you had here was awesome too, because you had so many people and it was all from people that did the podcast. And it was really neat to see the network that you built just very authentically. Because I mean, you wouldn't be able to do that if you could. Of course, you could do that without a podcast. But with the podcast, it's such a neat catalyst to get that going and to bring so many people together.
yeah, it's really been a kind of a surreal kind of experience the last couple weeks. It's just been it's kind of validation for me, but then it's also like for all the people in my life that I feel like don't really get it. Like the people who don't really understand I don't want to say the impact, but just like the level of seriousness that I take this. This isn't just a dumb hobby that I do for fun. Like this is real, in my opinion. And yeah, it's just been a lot of fun. And the Rich Brock show was a ton of fun. We got to sit front row. He got to pick on me, pick on Courtney a lot, which was a ton of fun. But yeah, it was just a cool experience rocking the Rich Brock hat. Still got the sticker on it, so it's that good shit. So shout out to Rich for with the hat and for the show and for the experience. But Randy, you're one of my longest running friendships ever.
We've been friends for, I was talking to Cameron the other day, and as we were talking, she's like, oh, wait, how do you guys know each other? And I shared, we know each other from working at Kroger when we were in our teens. And as I sat there, I was like, we've known each other since, I think, 2013 or 14, depending on when you started working there. I know when I started, and I was like, that's crazy. We've known each other for 11 years.
Yeah, a little over 10 years, 2014 for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of crazy. And I wanted to kind of revisit this because I feel like we've talked about it within our friend group, just like sitting around a fire, doing what we do and bullshit around. So we worked together at Kroger and we were like acquaintances. Like we were coworkers. We didn't hang out outside of work. We never like went out. We never did anything like that.
But we hung out with the same kind of people.
I am so excited that we are entering year 2 of the support from the fireworks community team. I am so excited to have them hosting us today. They're a creative co-working space focused on supporting the local community and uplifting creative entrepreneurs. Get a free day pass. When you book with them, you have to use code DRIVE, or if you go to see them in person to visit their beautiful space and meet their awesome staff, tell them Logan from Your Morning Drive sent you, and you'll get a free day pass to try the space yourself. Fireworks Co-working in Marietta, Georgia.
Funny enough, whenever I was talking to Cameron, I had told her, I was like, yeah, I met your brother at Kroger, but he was usually my relief cashier. So whenever I would work the morning shifts, you would relieve me for those like 2-3 o'clock shifts. And I was like, that's actually really funny to think about because we really didn't hang out much. We didn't really do much during that time, but we ran with the same people and we were in the same groups. And I know we worked shifts and stuff together and we were very friendly then. But we weren't like, let's go bowling together. It wasn't stuff like that, but it built a good relationship overall.
Yeah. Like I feel like that's funny that you mentioned that. I didn't even think about it from that perspective. I was often your relief or vice versa. And we rarely worked together unless it was like I feel like Kroger was always like fully staffed, like a holiday weekend or like the summers when we were all like out of classes and out of school. So we were just always working all the shifts possible to pick up cash. And everyone was intimidated by Randy at Kroger because she had the crazy fast scanning.
Wait. It wasn't just crazy fast. It was the fastest in the district. Okay. So let's put some respect on my once title.
Yeah, that if that's not on your resume right now, I think you should add it.
It should be, but it's honestly funny that I even ever had that because that was never a goal of mine ever. But I remember Connor, our manager at the time, he would come over to me and he would bring me the sheets. They would do printouts and it was by teller number. And I remember he would highlight and be like, Miranda, look, you're at the top. Let's keep that up. And then the store manager, who when you're 17 years old, that's a big deal to have the store manager. I mean, he feels like a really big person of power. Now I'm like, that's so funny. I thought that. But he would come over to me too and he'd be like, you should do competitions. They have them in the district. And I never did them because it felt kind of cringy to me even then. But yeah, it's a fun little joke and a play on, I'm glad that I was successful at that job at 17.
Yeah, I know. That's so funny. I mean, and yeah, we kind of ran around with the same circles. I mean, you were friends with Jordan Burton. Say probably the same level of relationship with like you guys. Same thing. You relieved each other at of the shift. You guys probably worked together more, I think, than me and you did.
Jordan Burton and I talked for a couple weeks.
You talked?
Yeah, we went to the movies and Applebee's.
Wow. Shout out. And now he's engaged and you've been married for 5 years.
Yep. And I've got my little baby and our lives are just it's so crazy to see. I mean, even for instance, Saturday, it's just crazy to see like, wow, it's so funny that some of these people you don't think you'll really see past a job, but because of those groups we ran in, you still hang out with him and then I still see him. And like, it's just so funny.
I was thinking about that, like there was a point in time that we were sitting there talking and he came up and he grabbed himself like a piece of the cookie cake. And for a split second, I was like, whoa, dude, like this triangle right here, you and Jordan Burton, probably my longest running friendships for a long time. I mean, I've known you and him the same amount of time. So it's just insane that, like you said, we're just still kind of connected. And even, to an extent, like some of the other, like, if you want to call it like the Kroger universe, like Josh that I'm still buddies with that lives out in San Diego.
The Kroger universe.
The Kroger cinematic universe is alive and well. Zach is out there somewhere. I caught up with him yesterday because he texted me on my birthday. Aww. And then people like Cameron or Parker, I still follow on social media still. And Cameron, that's his name, right? Cameron?
Mm-hmm.
What was his name? No, Jake.
Oh, yeah,
Jake. Well, Cameron too. There was a Cameron, but Jake, him. I mean, it's just so funny that a job that you work when you're 17, 18 years old, like we're here approaching our 30s and we still all know each other.
But I think it's kind of funny. I've been a little fixated on this lately because it's so crazy how when you are in it, you don't realize how impactful it will be. And I mean, even Jordan and I were talking about boyfriends and girlfriends in middle school. And it's like, that's so funny that you still think about those people and how impactful they may have been to you, whether it's something they said or how they treated you or whatever the case may be. But I just think it's so wild. And I mean, even when you're 17, I didn't take that job at Kroger and think, I'm going to be friends with these people for 11 years. No, I never thought that. And now it's like, we have been close friends for however, at least 4.5, 5 years of close friendship. And it's like, I think about your family and how close we are with them and how many memories we have with them now. And it's literally, again, I could just go off on this, but one thing in your life and it can change the entire trajectory. Because if I never would have invited you to my wedding, we wouldn't have these fun 4th of July memories.
No, we wouldn't. And all of the memories that we've made since, and I mean, all the memories with Quinn that we've had in just the short year and a half-ish of her life so far. I mean, it's just insane to like think back. And I thought about that again. I always think about this whenever, because I'm the kind of person that can't celebrate an occasion without inviting every friend in the book.
Yeah.
But like, as I'm sitting there, seeing some of Catherine's friend group, and then like my OG friend group, like with the Madison and Andrew and Jordan and Emily and Jamie on this side of the table. And then in the middle of the table, like Corey, Courtney, you guys, Tanner and Tess. And it's like, man, it's so crazy that just these relationships just stay. It's just crazy. But one thing my dad texted me that night when he got home, he was like, dude, one thing's for sure, your friends show up for you guys. And I was like, when I was growing up, since we moved around so much, we never had like close friendships. Or my parents didn't. Like, I never saw my parents never went on vacations with friends, never, because they didn't have any relationships like that were so close because they never lived in the same place for so long. And now I think about like how much stock I personally put into friendships. It's crazy, but I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah.
It's insane. But you mentioned your wedding, and I want to revisit that for a second because like you said, I mean, we just kind of relieved each other at Kroger. Like we didn't really work together that often. Sure, whenever we did work together, it was very jovial, very playful, calling each other on the cashier phone or the register phones like, hey, do you see that guy? Like shit like that just kind of like made you giggle throughout the day because standing there for 8 hours at the register was sucky.
Being the fastest was exhausting.
I'm sure you got off of work. If we worked the same shift, there was no way that I was more tired than you. You were absolutely more tired because you did it so much faster.
No, I was just ready to go.
Yeah. And
these arms were ready.
Yeah, for real. For real. Part of what makes you such a strong woman today is just the fact that you could do that shit so fast.
God was preparing me for the trauma to come
Yeah.
with my strength.
Yes, Kroger prepared you. You guys are organizing this wedding. You guys kind of got married around COVID-ish time.
November of 2020.
So what pushed you? Because I know you invited Jake because you and Jake actually work like somewhat close when you guys worked there, right?
We were close. We hung out a lot, honestly. And then Jordan Burton and I remember more with you. Well, especially at that time, it's been 5 years since then. And since my wedding, it was 5 years since I worked at Kroger. So it's like, there was a lot more that went into it. But I mean, yeah, I can't remember everybody I invited, but I didn't invite everybody from Kroger. I absolutely did not. But it was like those people that you had those good memories with and you had those good relationships with. That was who I invited. And also when you're getting married in your early 20s, it's one of those things where it's like, well, it's not like I'm 35. I don't only have 20 friends. I mean, I know a lot of people. I've met a lot of people. I have a lot of different interactions, and I would hate to not invite somebody and then regret it later. Whereas, inviting and going along with it was good. And honestly, it worked out for the best because
now we're here.
We're friends.
Yeah, I know.
And again, I don't remember all the memories from Kroger, but I think the fact that we hung out in the same groups, I think we were a little more friendly. We would have had to have been more friendly than we remember for me to have invited you to my wedding.
Yeah, I know. Looking back, like, it's like, I did, like, there was a handful of people when I would walk into Kroger and like think like, yes, like when I saw them at the registers, like it would be like Zach or you or Jordan or like a couple people that I would be like, okay, it's going to be a good shift because we've got this like group of people. Like Benji when he was a bagger, like all the different people that we had, all the different characters. Like if you walk in and see a certain group of people, you're like, okay, this Saturday before, or this day before Thanksgiving shift is going to be hell, but it's going to be better because we've got the squad here.
Right.
And you were definitely in that group for me amongst, Jordan and some others, but
again, it's just crazy how one thing can change the entire trajectory.
I was going through my photos the other day and I came across the photo of the Kroger squad at our wedding.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, it is so crazy that we just all worked at Kroger together. Like you said, again, I don't want to beat this into the ground too much, but it's just,
okay, guys.
Yeah, they're like, get over Kroger. A part-time job that you work when you're in college, just in between classes. If you need to adjust that, you can.
I think I do.
Yeah, twist
this one?
I think it's, these stands are new. No, not that one. The bigger one.
That actually may have done it.
Did it?
It's fine. It's
Okay.
good.
You sure?
It's a little bit higher, which
Okay.
is good.
Cool.
I hope it's good.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine.
Okay.
It looks like it's fine.
Good. Okay.
Not changing that. Not editing this out. We're authentic here. But okay.
The raw.
Yeah, the real, the raw, the unfiltered. That's what we love. So yeah, fast forward. We're close friends. We go on vacation together. You hang out with my family. My family thinks of you guys as family. It's so crazy, like that. Again, like moving past Kroger, a relationship that starts as like just a casual coworker kind of friendship turns into the fact that like my parents like would trust you guys to like come into their house when they're not home, and
we would trust them,
or vice versa. Yeah, like you trust my parents with your baby, you trust us with your baby, which questionable at times. Sorry, Quinny, you'll hear this when you're older, but yeah, I mean,
I just think it's great. And I was talking to our dad, John, on Saturday, and he's going to buy a boat for us. So it's going to be really great. We are so excited. It's going to be such an amazing summer.
Can you just picture little Quinn with a little life jacket on?
Yes.
So cute.
I did tell your dad that whenever he buys our boat, our boat, I did tell him that he has to buy one of those like hot dog, they're like gigantic floats. And I feel like there's a hot dog one. I can't.
Is it like the one that you would like, you ride on it? Yeah.
He said he would buy it.
That would be fantastic.
As long as we all rode it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, game on.
I want to see a video of us hitting like some giant wave and then just this hot dog in the air and then just like 3 people just flying through the air too.
Yes, I think every friend group needs a boat and they need a hot dog riding thing in the water.
Yeah. If there's anything that this friend group is missing, it's a guy with a boat.
Yes. And your dad's going to be that guy.
I hope so. I think it might happen too.
Yeah, he seemed very interested.
Yeah.
Very into the idea.
When I came by and showed them the new truck the other day, my dad was like, you could pull the boat with this. And I was like, what boat? And he was like,
we could pull the boat with our Atlas. We will help him.
Yes. I will gladly pull that boat. I don't know what I'm doing, but I've got a truck now so I can like back it into the water. So heck yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It'll be fine.
I can do truck things now because I'm a truck boy. So thank you for inviting me to the club, truck people. So fast forward more, we lived it up when you were not parents. It felt like we were together every weekend, multiple times. It would be Friday and Sunday or Saturday and Sunday or Friday and Saturday.
We made a lot of memories.
Lots of memories. And then you're pregnant. And
that was May of 2023.
What a shocker.
The fun had to so the fun didn't totally die. We of course had to keep it a secret till our annual Hames cookout, which we have done, I think, every year now for 3 years. I believe this will be the 4th. Yeah. And yeah, we did the big surprise. We did the surprise gender reveal all back to back to back. And it was really exciting. And I mean, looking back, I will probably do it that way again.
You think so?
I think so.
Another reveal at a cookout?
Maybe not a cookout.
But like some friends
just
get together.
Hold it and then do something like, bam, here's the surprise and here's a gender reveal.
Which is...
I mean, you have to agree that is one of the craziest things. You literally went to a cookout. It turned into a baby queue because you didn't know that there was
a gender reveal.
And a gender reveal.
So we went from
You couldn't even get the news about the baby before we hit you with the gender.
Yeah, you literally, I'm pretty sure, like looking back, like if I replay that day in my mind, you were like, surprise, we're having a baby, and everyone was like, oh my god, giving you hugs, and then like Jordan whipped out this like thing, and he was like, and I'm gonna fire this thing in the air, and it's gonna tell you what gender we're having, and I was like, oh my god, what the hell? Like, this is a lot of information very fast, especially when you had no idea. But looking back, when all the interactions that we had leading up to that pregnancy announcement, I knew. Because you dropped...
Everybody says...
No, but remember all the little things I would say to you, like when I came over for Guys on Tap recordings, I'd be like, are you pregnant?
Oh yeah, there was a couple times where we were like, Logan knows. How does Logan know?
Is this the little things? But, you know, that's all right. Because now, unfortunately, when you're in your mid to late 20s, anytime you and your wife go out to eat and your wife decides to order a water or a soda instead of an alcoholic beverage, everyone's like,
she's pregnant.
She's pregnant. She's got a baby in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a baby cooking.
Which that just ruins the fun. Even if you think that, keep it to yourself. Because the person that is pregnant, they're not going to tell you right then.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
I've kind of become, I don't want to say sensitive to this, but it's gotten to the point now where I feel like I am no longer going to be the guy that like when your new friends get married and the first thing you want to ask them is like, so when are you going to have a baby? When are you going to have a baby? Are you pregnant, or when are you going to have a baby? Catch me never asking anybody that again.
Yeah.
Because, you know, going through the motions of trying to become a father.
Everybody has their own story and everybody has their own journey, and that's okay.
Yeah. Thankful for the journey, though.
Yeah. Because, I mean...
It teaches you things like this.
It does. It definitely does. It kind of opens up your eyes to certain things. And, I mean, I know we'll probably get into this a little bit more, but I don't want to go on my rampage. But when you go through hard things, it teaches you a lot, of course, like you said, but it also helps those around you, too, I think, to see, like, oh, wow, I didn't know how impactful this XYZ could be, but now I know. And not only can I help other people who may have been impacted, although it may not be them directly, but I know how to show up for them and I know how to support them and all those kinds of things. So, yeah.
So at what point, because I hinted at it in your intro about NICU stuff. So at what point did you guys learn in your pregnancy that something was, I don't want to say wrong, but something was off about everything?
So it was at our 20-week anatomy scan. Prior to that, everything was fine. Baby was great. And we only had one ultrasound prior to that, and that was the first one.
So it was that early.
Well, you typically don't get many ultrasounds in the process. And so you get the first one, you see the baby, they check like the fetal pole and the heart rate and all that kind of stuff. And then you don't get another one till 20 weeks. And so then I because I'm a type 1 diabetic, I had to go to MFM, so maternal fetal medicine doctor. Anyways, and so I had to go there, and that was when they told me that Quinn had it's called a birth defect, but because I've been through it, I don't call it a birth defect.
Yeah.
Because that just has such a negative connotation. So I call it a birth condition. And that's when we found out that she had gastroschisis and her tummy did not close entirely during the first 12 weeks of development. And it caused her intestines to be on the outside of her body. So she had an umbilical cord running one way and the intestines kind of coming out a little bit the other way. And then the entire time through my pregnancy, I was monitored I would have had the same amount of appointments because I have diabetes as I would have with Quinn having a birth condition. But, they had to make sure that everything was okay because as the baby gets bigger, her insides were getting bigger too, and they could have been pushing out more from the pressure. And so thankfully from everything through the entire process, it was only ever just her intestines. I believe a tiny part of it was either her bladder or her gallbladder came out because also then you have the gravitational pull when you're trying to birth a baby, that also causes more to be coming out. And so whenever we went through the process and had the baby, I was in labor for so long. I was at Northside Cherokee from Monday mid-afternoon, and I didn't deliver until Wednesday night at 11:39 p.m. And that was via emergency C-section because we did our best. And once the baby's heart rate started to spike, it was game over. So... And I remember literally crying from the moment that they came in because I had 2 failed epidurals. I had 2 failed IVs. I was having failed cervical checks they call it cervical ripening. And so it was like all these things, just my body wasn't ready. My body could have kept her in, but because I have diabetes and because she had gastroschisis, they needed to get the baby out and it had to be a controlled environment, which is why induction came into play. And so, yeah, I remember getting that second epidural after the first one failed. And I got maybe 45 minutes of just rest. My body could relax. And I had taken a little bit of a nap. And I remember the OB coming in and waking me up and being like, Miranda, we've got to go.
Your morning drive is also present to us by Good Days Canned Cocktails. Good Days are a classic cocktail brand created in a convenient, ready-to-drink canned format for any occasion, whether it's a pool day, a boat day, a beach day, a graduation, a wedding, a bar mitzvah, anything in between. Good Days are there for you. Good Days are ahead when they are in your cooler, your fridge, your anything in between. Good Days has your back. If you want to be one of the first to try their drink, you can do so by visiting drinkgooddays.com/pages/find-us to find a store near you selling their drink. Of course, you must be 21 years of age to consume and purchase.
The baby's heart rate is too high and we have to do an emergency C-section. And then once she came in, here came a flood of other doctors and nurses. They were trying to get me prepared. Mind you, I have an epidural, so I'm numb, but they did the whole process to get everything going. And Jordan had 10 minutes from the room we were in for 3 days, 10 minutes to clean it up. And so that was kind of its own thing. Jordan's over here cleaning up the bathroom and getting all of our stuff. And I'm over here like crying because I'm about to have a C-section. And it wasn't the fact that I had to have a C-section that made me cry. It was just kind of the disappointment that, we were so close because I got to 7 centimeters with her. And I would like to brag on, it was 7 centimeters with no epidural because nothing was working. Nothing was working.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. So I wanted to ask if, is there any science to suggest that I haven't heard that word in such a long time, gastroschisis?
Gastroschisis, yeah.
Is there any correlation between you being a diabetic, between that and her having this condition?
No.
Or was it just happenstance?
No. So when the MFM came in during my 20-week scan to tell me the news, she had shared everything about it. And I had asked her, I was like, well, why? Like, what causes this? Why does my baby have this? And she said, well, typically it's skinny white women that are more so in the underprivileged areas. And she didn't word it exactly like that. I wish I could recall the exact verbiage she used, but I'm sorry. And smokers, skinny white smokers in underprivileged situations. And, because they're not getting the care they need and all of that. And I had looked at her and I said, well, I'm not a smoker. And she said, no, but you are a skinny white woman. Great. So the time that having good health and all of that bites me in the butt. So, hey, if I could pack on an extra 50 pounds and it meant my baby didn't have a birth condition, then hey, I would have signed up way before.
You think so?
Yeah, I would have. I mean, hey, it's just what they say.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, if you look at those things, I wasn't a smoker. I can't change the color of my skin.
Yeah.
But if I could have packed on extra weight and it somehow magically helped, well, then sure, I would have done it. But
interesting.
There's always anomalies and everything.
It's crazy to think, when people talk about the miracle of childbirth, they think in just the fact that, this isn't new information to anybody, that women grow a baby inside of them for 9 months and then give birth. The fact that her intestines were still growing properly, just not within her stomach, when it was supposed to close up.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that still works is very alien-like. It feels because if I'm sitting in y'all's shoes and the doctor comes in and says, your baby's intestines are growing outside of her body, my first thought is, oh my God, eventually the stomach's going to close and it's going to cut the blood flow from the heart to the intestines and then she's going to die.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe I'm a doomsday thinker, but that's just in my head. Eventually, her stomach's going to sew up. But please correct me if I'm wrong. So she was born, you got the C-section, she obviously emerged, and her stomach wasn't closed up, right? So they had this stuff.
We have a picture of her from moments after she was born. And anytime there's a situation with a preemie or situations like this where it's a surgical necessity that she's going to the NICU, but anytime there's a situation like that, they're going to put a bag around that baby. And that's what we have a picture of is Quinn. She's in this bag. She's so brand new, and you can see the intestines in that picture. And the reason that they do the bag is to keep the baby warm. And so because you figure if not only are her intestines on the outside, but for babies that are smaller, their body's going to have a really hard time staying warm. And so they put them in that little sack. I think they call it a turkey bag unofficially. Yeah. So they put her in that. And then she went to the North Side NICU while I was getting closed. Jordan went with her. And then I was in the recovery area, and she came by in the isolate before they went because she went to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta across the street. And that's also why we delivered where we did. It was important to be close to CHOA. So originally my plan was to go to Northside Cherokee and, have that process. And then I got to be 35, 36 weeks and I was regretting my decision. And so I changed OBs and delivered at Northside Atlanta, which changing OBs is a whole other thing. And any moms listening know that that's just completely insane, but it just made the most sense. And so changed OBs. I went to one appointment with my new OB and I gave birth the following week. Which the entire time I was pregnant, I don't have any kind of attachment to any OB because you literally I could have gone into labor at a baseball game and things need to happen. I mean, I have no attachment. And even for following and subsequent pregnancies, I won't ever have an attachment to an OB because it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I don't, but I get what you're saying. So when you guys found out that she has this condition and you're navigating the pregnancy, did you know that when she was born, you were not going to be able to take her home for a while?
Yes.
And did you know that you weren't going to be able to be with her at all times?
Yes. So I wasn't expecting quite what happened, but when you're given news like that, there's a lot of different things that are in play. So you have to meet with the surgical team. You want to meet with the people that are going to be caring for your baby. You can do a NICU tour, which I opted not to do because I could not fathom that when I was as pregnant as I was. And honestly, looking back, I'm so thankful I didn't do a NICU tour because that would have just caused so much more anxiety. But yeah, you meet with all of these providers and you meet with the team and you get a good idea of what's going to happen and what's going to take place. And then they try to give you an idea, but until you're in it, you don't know. And they can only say so much because anything can change on a dime. And then you're expecting one thing and something totally different happens. But yeah, so we had a lot of different appointments. We met with the CHOA team. They followed up with us around the end of December to make sure, hey, we're ready. And also the good thing about it and having that close connection with all the doctors and care team beforehand was they gave me the reassurance that no matter where you are, where you give birth, we were already on a NICU list, which ultimately just meant because the severity of what's taking place, this baby, no matter where she is, needs to come to this hospital. And that was Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. So even if I were to deliver in Tennessee or Arkansas, they were going to get her to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta because that's where her care team was to take care of her and make sure that everything was needed. Now, I would have stayed in Arkansas, but they would have gotten her where she needed to go. So that was kind of neat and also reassuring because she could have came at any minute.
Yeah. So when, because, we got, you guys were great at filling in our friend group and the close people to you guys, all the information, like kind of as it was happening. Before I ask that. So she's born, they put her in this turkey bag to keep her warm or the turkey sack, whatever. And then, a few things happen and stuff happens, but then they take her away and Jordan goes with her.
Until I saw her passing in the isolate, I had not seen her.
You did not get to hold her like the traditional
Absolutely.
Baby pops out, mom gets to hold her first.
No. And even when she's in the isolate, she's already intubated, which means she's got a tube in her throat. And she was already, they needed to go. Yeah. You, even as the parent, you only have a few minutes.
Right.
So Jordan was able to go up to the NICU and be with her and take pictures with her and stuff like that. But I did not see her. And I really, really and truly, I saw her via FaceTime calls while I was still at Northside. But the first time I really met her wasn't until the Sunday after I was released. And that was the first time I really got to see her. But yeah.
So then how Jordan's not here, so he can't speak for it. But And he's such a modest guy. I mean, whenever I ask him questions like this, you know how he is. He's just like, oh, yeah, it was this or it was that. But I really want to think about like the fact that his wife just had an emergency C-section. His wife isn't able to hold her new baby. And he has to he either made the choice, or did you guys discuss this beforehand, that he was going to go with Quinn, like regardless, like to follow her to the NICU?
We didn't really know. We knew that there was going to be a NICU team in the OR or in the delivery room, but it turned into the OR. But we didn't really know that like she was going to be taken away. I feel like we just briefly talked about it. I mean, mind you, I'm under anesthesia, so I don't really remember a lot of it. But yeah, and I mean, I had to be closed and all of that. And Jordan, of course, was concerned about both of us, but it just made the most sense for him to go with her. So, I mean, even looking back, I'm glad that he went with her. And then whenever she got transferred to CHOA, he didn't go for the transfer. He stayed back with me as I got into the mom and baby ward and all that kind of stuff. And then whenever he did go for the first time, I don't remember the timeline of exactly when he went, but that was when he was given all the paperwork and how to sign into the NICU and how to get in, and here's where your baby is, and here's the care plan, and here's what's going on. And then he would typically relay it back to me. But I can't remember if that was so she was born on a Wednesday. I can't remember if that was early Thursday morning or I don't know, but he definitely had a lot more involvement with CHOA in the beginning because I couldn't go. But yeah, he did a very good job with it. And I mean, even through the entire process of what all we went through, it's forever bonding. I mean, we joke, and especially after we gave birth, I was like, I don't understand how people get divorced after you give birth. Because I guess depending the guy you are, you're in it. Like, and I can only speak from our experience, but he was there. Like, he was in it. He was with me. He was supporting. And I was also really scared I was going to die because I just have anxiety. So I was like, Jordan, you are my advocate. Do not let anything happen to me. If I tell you something's wrong, find a doctor. Anyways, he was actually the one that told me that my epidural was probably not right. Because the doctor had told us, they were like, yeah, you're just going to feel a little bit of this, a little bit of that, whatever, you should feel fine. I was in excruciating pain, screaming bloody murder. And finally, he was like, Myranda, I think we really need, I shouldn't say finally, but he was the one that said, I think we need to get the doctor. And I was like, no, it's fine. They said I would feel something. And he was like, Myranda, this is not right. Like, something is wrong. And it was. The epidural failed. I just didn't want to ask for help, I guess.
Well, that's all right. I mean, there's so much going on. You need that person. I don't know how women go through this experience alone, like without the dad present or without somebody present with them.
Yeah.
Like to think that people get knocked up and then they go and have these babies and they go through these experiences alone.
Yeah, that would be horrible.
I don't know how they do it.
I have no idea.
And so walk me through, as best you can, the emotions that you go through when because most people, you have your baby, it's laughing and crying and all those things, and you get to hold your baby, and then you and Jordan get that moment together where you're like, this is our baby, this is the most important thing to us forever. And you don't get that.
Well, not really, but the moment even before, I knew that. Jordan and I had the conversation of like, okay, if something happens to me or the baby, what are we going to do? I don't really want to say it on here, but he was like, Miranda, I'm going to save you. But now, of course, that she's fully here, I was always team save the baby.
Really?
But, yeah, because I don't know. It's so hard.
That's a horrible decision. I think we talked about it at the time, like when you guys were home from the hospital and everything was all good. But and once you had Quinn home, like I think that topic came up, and we were driving home that night from y'all's place, and I think it was like, maybe it's a hot topic or maybe it's a hot take, but I would save Catherine as well. I would think to, though. But of course, then like now having the baby and seeing her, it'd be so
here. It's different.
Yeah,
she's here
because we think of her as we think of her now, or at least we do, because we weren't there and we didn't have that experience of carrying her for 9 months.
Right. And I think that's also the hard part. Because it's like, well, save the baby, because I've been growing her and I've got my attachment to her, and like I'm working so hard on this baby. But I read something before I gave birth, which was actually super, super helpful. And I don't remember if it was an article or just a posting online, but it ultimately said you don't really ever have to worry about that, and your spouse should never have to, because your care team will make the decision of what's going to take place. And so I was like, okay, that's actually really reassuring, because Jordan should never be asked, do you want to save your baby or your wife? Like, no, it's going to go by medical necessity of what makes the most sense. So, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So regardless, even if Jordan was just like, save the baby, if the medical team was like,
I think they would.
I think they would too.
Yeah.
But
which is helpful. And even if that's not accurate, nobody fact check us because I don't want to know.
Yeah, don't fact check us. Don't come for me. Don't cancel Myranda. But what I was getting at with that emotions question is, walk me through the emotions of you, because I know this was the hardest part of your journey. Of Quinn is born and then she's taken away.
Yeah.
And you don't get to live the first month of her life with her at all times.
No.
I mean, from the outside looking in, every time I checked y'all's location, you were at the hospital.
Oh yeah, we lived there.
And
we were there.
I mean, I know that like no one once you have a child, no one cares about like the gas money y'all spent going up there all the time. And you spent hundreds of dollars on gas and fast food and just shit going up there. But of course you wouldn't change it for the world.
No.
But like thinking about it from the outside in, I'm like, God, they're like, and like we would get together as friends and then it'd be like 11 o'clock at night and then you guys would be like, yeah, we're going to go.
Yeah, we did that a couple of times. It was like, we spent all day there. We came home, we did whatever we needed to do. And I was like, we're going back, because it's so, even if you're just sitting there with your baby, it's still so important. I mean, there were so many babies in that NICU that didn't have anybody, and we would go and we'd be there all day, and we would never see people go to certain isolates. And I mean, God only knows how long those babies were there. And I fully acknowledge that. But I'm very thankful that the NICU they called them like care buddies or baby buddies or something like that. And we would go in, we went in a few times and we saw somebody in a chair and you just see the back of them. And I was like, what is this? Who is this woman? I only know a handful of people with gray hair, and I know I didn't let them in here. And then you would go around and it would be a care buddy holding your baby. And so that would also kind of be helpful to know, like, not only do the nurses absolutely love your baby, but they have these other volunteers coming in to help as well, which was super helpful. But the children's healthcare system, they also have an app where they would send you pictures and things like that, which was also really reassuring. But the distance, the drive, the time, none of it matters. I mean, and I was a pumping mom, which was a whole other journey in itself. I would literally be pumping. I would have milk going everywhere because I was oversupplying. I would be covered in milk more times than not. And part of the journey, it is what it is.
I didn't realize until after you guys had gone through this whole experience that the NICU was something that was a lot more common than not, I would say. I mean, I didn't realize there were these huge communities of people who like, this is like what they do. Like this is their life. Like, I mean, you guys were lucky to be able to, I mean, unlucky, but lucky enough to get Quinn after a month. I mean, how long do some of those babies have to stay there?
Some of the nurses had told us that, there were some babies that celebrate their first birthdays in the NICU.
That's horrible.
Which I couldn't even imagine. But they have a lot of different things that they do. And there's a lot of great organizations and there's a lot of great things that try to help. But it's just...
One thing that I've noticed about you, Randy, and I feel like you've always been this way. You're very outspoken about your opinions about certain things, and that's not. I mean, some of them some of them horrible opinions, but then some of them make a ton of sense.
I just don't think that crackheads should be granted babies when so many other people are having problems.
Well, that's
a hot take. I hate it for other people.
Yeah, I get it, but. One thing I've noticed that since this, you've been very outspoken about, like, it's okay to feel the feelings, trauma is part of your story, NICU, moms forever, like all these little things. So like, I want to know like how, like what's different about pre-birth Randy and post-birth Randy? I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Like what's besides the fact that you have a freaking amazing daughter that we all love.
Focus on advocacy comes to light way more in not only your mind, but your heart. And speaking up is just so important. And I don't think enough people do it. And I know that everybody deals with things differently, but when I go through something hard, it's easy to become a recluse and to stay home and to not talk about it. But you're not helping anybody else by doing that. You're not helping yourself. You're not helping whoever you're living with. You're not helping other people that may be going through it. And yeah, I know people may get sick of my NICU journey and they may not want to hear about the trauma, but I hate it for them. Like maybe me telling my story to one person, they could later have somebody that has a NICU baby. And now maybe they'll think of me and think about the things that I shared and how they could show up for their friends, how they could be there for the baby. You know, it's so many different things. You just have to be, I don't know, it's just different.
Hey guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about the company that makes your morning drive happen every week. Are you looking to elevate your business and your brand? Hammerhead Creations is here to help. They offer top-tier marketing services, including social media management, website design, and Google page optimization, ensuring your business reaches the right audience. Whether it's a side hustle or your full-time grind, their expert team, me, is ready to help you grow. Plus, if you're into podcasting like me, Hammerhead Creations offers full support for both in-house shows and external podcast creation. From concept to production, we will help you bring your ideas to life. Visit www.hammerheadcreations.com and discover how we can take your business or your podcast or both to the next level. Hammerhead Creations, swim with the big sharks.
It lights a different fire in you when you have not only a baby, but you have so much to advocate and fight for. And my little baby is that. Thankfully, she's amazing now.
She's so great.
She's literally so wild. I can't even. She's got so many teeth. She eats
very well.
She had steak last night and she was loving it. She's just so funny. I know she's only 15 months old and she's not really like her own full personality yet, but you can see it coming. Mm-hmm. And there's no doubt that Jordan and I are we're in for it.
Yeah, she's wild, but she's wild like in the best, like she's just such a happy baby.
Yeah,
like
she is.
Very rarely am I around babies that are as happy as she is. Like, I mean, I've told you guys this plenty of times. I've only seen Quinn cry a handful of times.
Yeah, she's pretty much she's pretty even keel. She's usually pretty happy.
I mean, there's been times that we've been with her and she'll trip and hit her head and she just gets right back up and just chills, like no issue.
She's amazing.
She's the best. I mean, we talk about her daily almost. Aww. Like just at home, we're just like, I hope Quinn's doing okay today. Or like, I love the videos and the pictures of her at school, like interacting with other babies. Like, it's just so funny that she's just so happy.
Yes.
And we love it. So tell me, I mean, I know we don't want to run too long, but I asked you kind of how like the NICU part has changed you, like, but like how has like, I mean, just being a mom, a working mom, like,
yeah.
I mean, you guys, I mean, was there ever a conversation of you staying at home?
No.
It was just, you were always going to be working mom.
Yes.
So tell me about being a working mom. I mean,
well, the first concern was I was worried that Quinn was going to be in the NICU longer than my maternity leave. Yeah. So I was out for 12 weeks because we live in America and it's a horrible system. We should have longer, but hey. So I was planning to be out for the 12 weeks. The concern was that Quinn was going to be in the NICU for longer than that. And so the only conversation that we really had was maybe I would go back early, depending where it was, but go back early and just do part-time and then see how our journey goes and all of that. But thankfully she was only in there for a month. She did great. She did amazing. We had a couple different little hiccups along the way, but nothing super, super crazy. And then whenever I went back to work, the hardest part of being a working mom, I mean, it's exhausting. It's genuinely exhausting, but was pumping. Being a pumping mom, trying to make sure that your employer is actually supporting what you're needing, making sure that you have what you need to be able to do that and doing it. So that was probably the hardest part, transferring and lugging my milk around.
So would you just keep a cooler with you all the time?
No, I always had a refrigerator where I was.
Okay.
But whenever I would drive, I typically have to drive north an hour. And that was only a couple times. However, I would just take a ton of ice packs to make sure that everything stayed warm.
Wow.
But yeah, that was the hardest part.
I mean, it was crazy because for a while, I mean, after Quinn was born, I mean, you were just always pumping. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden one day you're like, oh, I'm not pumping anymore. And we were like, whoa, like it feels like for the last like 2 months, all I heard was,
Yep. I did it for a year and I will take that accolade. And
a year?
Mm-hmm.
You pumped for a year?
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
Yeah. It was
It was a year?
lot. Yeah. It was a lot, but
Oh my God.
we did it.
I can't even believe it. A full year you guys pumped.
A year.
Or you pumped. Wow.
Yep. But I will say, listen, if you ever need a baby shower gift for somebody that is, maybe they plan to pump, maybe they don't know, just buy them a mini fridge. It is the most incredible gift I received during postpartum.
So we all know this, Randy, about me. I'm not that smart. So do people have opinions about pumping? Like, are there opinions about like pumping is the wrong thing to do versus
Everybody has
is
an
the alternative
opinion.
just breastfeeding, just straight up, versus you pumping and putting in a bottle?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And people have opinions about that?
Yeah, everybody has an opinion. They're like assholes. So that's I just don't care. If you don't like what I'm doing, have your own kid. And even the other day, my sister, she was at my mom's, and this was actually just yesterday, and she was texting us in the group chat, and she's like, I think I may need milk, because she was leaving her baby for the first like real time. And my nephew, he's about 7 months now, and I was like, you don't pump? What? And no, she just direct breastfeeds. And I was like, oh, Miranda, you gotta shut up. Doesn't matter. It's not your baby. Who cares?
Yeah.
If she ain't pumping, she ain't pumping. Like, she'll figure it out, because it's her kid. She always does. But it was weird to me, because I was like, wait a minute, you're breastfeeding, but you don't pump at all? Like, wait, I just had to switch my brain into like, oh,
It's not my
cool.
baby. Yeah.
That's your journey.
Yeah.
For me, I was a pumping cow, and it worked. It worked great. Filled up my freezer and then cut ties from the pumps.
Wow.
Till the next baby.
Till the next baby. So all in all, I mean, if there's a message that you want to send to NICU moms, NICU parents, people who are going through gastroschisis, anything like that, or just, expecting mothers, do you have any advice, anything to give them to take with them along their journey to keep in mind?
I know it may be a bit cliche, but goodness is just up ahead, because it's hard. No matter what you're in, it's hard. You could be a new mom, your baby could be great. You could be a mom to quadruplets. You could have a baby with a birth condition. You could have horrible in-laws. You could have no support. Like, there's so many things, but goodness is just up ahead. Just, you'll get there. You'll go through the journey and all will be well. And on a little bit of a side note, but the really cool part about Quinn's journey is that it does cause me to be involved in communities that I wasn't involved in before, such as a NICU group. And I've had the opportunity to share with Northside Atlanta. It was just their Mom Mondays is what they called it, but I was able to share the story of Quinn. And that was really neat, because it gets the word gastroschisis out there to so many people. And even if they don't look it up, it's one of those things that it's like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe they will look it up. And then I actually was able to write an article it's called Dear NICU Mama. And they have Facebook groups, and they have different things that you can engage with. They actually have a podcast as well, but it's just so helpful and so supportive. And it was nice to be able to write that article, because I was able to, again, highlight the word gastroschisis and to hopefully allow others who may be impacted by it to connect. And there's just a lot of really neat things. I mean, ever since Quinn's diagnosis and all of that we went through, we allocate money to CHOA every single month, and we will continue doing that probably for the rest of all of our kids' lives, because it's just so impactful. And then I actually do a NICU collection of sorts. It's not really anything super formal. I don't have like a 503B charity or anything, but like, I just collect different bows for the NICU. So I'll do hats, I'll do bows, and I send them typically about once every couple of months. And that's actually been really good. The last time I did it, I had a lot of people support. I actually had some old friends from Dallas that have babies, and it's just tons of stuff. And it doesn't have to be brand new, but even if they're used and they're just items that you don't need. But I did also set up an Amazon wish list. So I plan to just keep reusing that one, because it's really the same stuff. But the reason that I do that regarding bows and hats is because when you're in the NICU, nothing feels normal. And to have that, they would typically bring the bows, mind you. I mean, I brought some, and they were really big, because my baby's head was small at that time. It's big now. But when you come in and your baby's wearing a little bow or a little hat or just little things, it's so nice, and it really makes you. And so me and Quinn, we keep that going. And so I'll send pictures of Quinn every time I mail a box, and then I'll put like from Quinn and all her friends, or, I usually put little messages in there, but it's just however you can support is always nice, even if you're not directly impacted.
Sure. Well, Randy, thank you so much for deciding to choose Your Morning Drive to kind of tell a little bit about your story. I know there's a lot of stuff that you guys went through during that time, and it made you and Jordan's relationship stronger, I'm sure.
Yes,
It
absolutely.
made not like your love for Quinn would have been any less if you hadn't gone through that stuff, but it just made it so much more. It's just so amazing to have. We think about it all the time when we're around her. We're like, I can't believe that she went through that when she was born, and she has no idea.
No.
But one day she will, and she'll be proud of that story. I'm just speaking from me, but also from Catherine too. We're just so lucky to know you. We're just so lucky to know Quinn and to be able to love her and support you guys through everything that has gone through, that you guys have gone through. And it's just means the world to us that you let us be in her life so much, and we cherish that. So thank you for telling us that story today.
Of course. I'm also really glad that my plan, whenever we were in the NICU, we were literally just about to tell y'all, hey, come meet Quinn. We'll do it in the hospital environment. Come on. And then you guys got to meet her at home, which was just so nice. Because honestly, I'm glad that nobody had to do that. Well, I mean, a few people did meet her in the hospital environment, but it was nice that I'm glad you guys don't have that memory. I'm glad you only have memories of sweet Quinn at home with no tubes attached.
Yeah, that would have been heartbreaking to see.
Yeah.
Even if she was doing fine, it's just something about the hospital and the hospital sounds that I'm sure you guys heard for a long time, even after the hospital.
Oh yeah, you never forget them.
No.
You never forget those certain little things. And even whenever I watch videos online, because I'm a sucker for watching things I shouldn't be watching, like sad videos,
Yeah, of
and
course.
I read people's stories. And I'm like, oh Lord, no wonder I have anxiety. But when you hear those beeps in the background, it's like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, swipe off.
Yep. Away.
Yeah.
Randy, is there anything that you want to, besides the things that you kind of shouted out, is there anything you want to plug? Is there anything that you want to promote? Any resources? Anything that you want to kind of shout from the rooftops one more time?
I would just reiterate those same groups, especially for anybody going through a possible NICU stay or in a NICU stay. The Dear NICU Mama page is incredible. Lots of great stories, a lot of great people in there. And then Children's Healthcare of Atlanta or your local children's hospital, definitely advise, even if you're only giving $5, it goes so far for the efforts and things that they're able to do for those babies and for those families as well. And yeah, it's just motherhood can be a bitch. So support your moms.
Guys, I will make sure to plug the NICU Mama pages in the description of the episodes. If you're curious about any of those things, you can go and click in and check out. Maybe I'll link Quinn's story on those pages so that you can go and read up a little bit more about her and learn about what the Hames went through with her journey. Again, like I said at the top, follow Your Morning Drive on the socials for more updates and information. Everything is just at Your Morning Drive. Thank you again for listening today. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mommies out there, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care.